Stop motion animation is one of the earliest forms of animation, but it's a very time-consuming process. This video is about the tips and tricks to speed up the process of stop motion animation. Number 1, do not shoot all wide shots. What I see a lot of people do when they shoot stop motion animation is to try to get the entire puppet into the shot. I just finished watching Netflix Pinocchio movie, and in that movie you can see a couple of shots where they don't get the puppet's bottom end. There's a very important reason for this. The less amount of things that you have to animate and worry about the camera picking up, the easier the animation is going to be and the faster the animation is going to be. My biggest tip is to only get wide shots when you're going for establishing shots, just so the audience can see the world that the character is living in. Number 2, animate at a lower frame rate. I know animating at 24 frames per second looks much smoother, especially if you are an experienced stop motion animator. But to be honest, it's much more time consuming than animating at 12 frames per second, literally half the time. Depending on what you're trying to do with your stop motion animation, I can understand there is an argument for 24 frames per second. But if you're just putting up a video on YouTube, or you're just sharing it on TikTok or a social media platform, there's no need to get 24 frames per second. So why not cut your time in half, come out with the 12 frames per second, make it look extremely clean, and you can actually animate 2 videos for the time of 1. Number 3, use software that you're familiar with. The more software and the more things that you do that you're unfamiliar with while you're shooting, the longer it's gonna take. I know this is common sense, but for me, I use a lot of apps that I'm not familiar with. I do try to learn certain apps, and it does take a lot of time. If you're pressed for time and you want to do a stop motion animation, just stick to the apps that you're familiar with editing. I like to use stop motion apps to do editing on my phone, so I can edit a stop motion animation video anywhere and not just my studio. Last but not least, figure out the audio before you do the stop motion shoot. Honestly, audio takes the most amount of time for me when I do stop motion animation videos. Sometimes you forget that you're actually animating photos and it's not a real video, so you have to create the sound. A great hack I use is to figure out the audio before I do the shoot and to try to sync the audio with the shoot while I'm shooting. That makes it much more easier. This has been my tips to do stop motion animation a little faster. Hopefully you enjoyed and your stop motion animation gets a little faster. And if you use any of these tips, make sure to send me the video. I would love to check it out. Keep animating. I'll see you soon.